very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. We're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. And as always, it's our pleasure to be with you. I'm Jeffrey Uzama, and my goons are back from wherever they went to.
And that's
somewhere in the heats of Taipei, somewhere, sleeping and waking up, making sure she doesn't watch the news for like a month. But welcome back, guys.
Well, it's good to be back.
It's great to be back.
How was Taipei?
It was great. It was beautiful to see, actually. The culture, the food, the scenery. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
How was your vacation?
Day. Oh, beautiful. A lot of work away from work, but
Come on.
It was work that was well worth it. Yeah, for the next generation.
We'll take that. We'll manage that.
And shout out for Kelly for sitting in.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. And of course, thank you, Jeffrey.
It's our work.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody.
I said, Jeffrey needs like 2 years to sleep after this.
I'm going to sleep. Everybody
well, we didn't get 2 years, so Jeffrey's certainly not getting 2 years.
I need a lot of sleep. But guys, it's good to have you guys back. So what are you tracking now that you're back?
The rain.
But first, before we go to what you're tracking, I was curious to find out because I know the heat of Taipei really deals with you. The very first day we crossed over to you. But in terms of the food, how were you able to navigate all of that?
Very good question, actually. And we'll walk through this maybe tomorrow. I learned to use the chopsticks. I had to learn it. And it was interesting, to learn to use because I always wondered, why? Why are you using chopsticks? So why not use the spoon or the fork, which is easy? So I learned to use the chopsticks. They have countless cuisines, countless options. You could go to a restaurant and there's 30 options for you. And that is just scratching the surface. You literally get lost. And it's beautiful to see how they keep reinventing these dishes. So today they use potato and something else. Tomorrow they've invented something. Even the citizens themselves are always surprised to see that, there's something new to try. So it's beautiful to see that they have a lot of options. So it's not just rice, jollof rice, fried rice, village rice that we do. But the food was good. It took some time getting used to, particularly because there's not just rice. There's a lot more stuff. You learn to eat sushi, dumplings, and the rest. But hey, when you're hungry,
so there's no
nobody needs to. I didn't have time to look for it.
Well, speaking of food, it's brilliant that a young Nigerian is again putting Nigeria on a global map with that Jollof Festival, the biggest pot of Jollof, which has now been confirmed by the Guinness Book of Records to be the biggest pot of Jollof ever cooked. Kudos to Hilda Bassi. And, in spite of all of the criticisms, those criticisms paled into insignificance, considering the amount of effort put into that work, and the creativity must be commended as well. And in fact, she drew the attention of former Vice President who spoke about what greatness looked like with the effort of Hilda Bassi. So thank you, Hilda Bassi, for once again putting Nigeria on the global map with that particular effort.
Let's just stay here for a bit, because
speaking of resumption,
it's a breakfast show. What is breakfast without food, right? So, let's talk about this. First off, big ups to Hilda Bassi, the whole team, for always thinking outside the box. Because it's a lot to actually make this happen. Oh yes, the brands supported, there was a lot of support, but to actually make it happen is a lot. So kudos to her team, all of the Nigerians, I must say millions of Nigerians that supported her, the ones that queued outside to get the jollof, not because they were hungry really, but just because they wanted to support it. Now we can debate about how it tasted. There were reviews saying it tasted well. Some said this and that, but the point is she's able to think big, and I think that's what we should take away from this. Enough is enough of trying to just think small, do little things. Yeah, it's good to start little, but we should always think big. All of the greatest inventions, do you ever wonder, how did someone think, let us invent an aeroplane or a ship, something that massive, and you see just how massive it is? It's because they thought of it, they thought big. They said, you know what, it's good to have a canoe or a boat, but let's go big. Let's have a cruise ship that can take thousands of people. So that is a takeaway for me from Hilda Bassi. I hope a lot more Nigerians, young and old, are able to think big and do greater stuff.
She's always pushing boundaries. I'm just happy nobody fell inside that pot. That was fantastic.
Come on,
I'm looking inside that for
and speaking of
that's what just crossed my mind. I'm looking at it now from that drone shot. I'm like, oh Lord, thank you.
And speaking of thinking big, listening to Hilda Bassi speak about the quantum of effort put into that.
She said it took 9 months.
Creativity. The pot was designed in Nigeria. Yeah. All of the materials were sourced here at home in Nigeria. And indeed, some people were saying that, about 10 people cooked, but Hilda Baci is taking the glory. But whose initiative is it? That's another question that we should ask. And every great effort is a result of team spirit. So those questions do not even arise. They're not even important. We could also talk about the cleaning of the pot, and people were talking about how she stepped into it. How else would you clean, such a massive utensil that would be used to cook 250 bags of jollof? Well, we hear eventually that it was just 200 bags that, were cooked, for that big jollof effort. But we must commend her. And, this would draw attention. And if this were to be duplicated, perhaps, Hilda Baci would be consulted. And who knows? All of the utensils could be sourced in Nigeria, the raw materials for the assembling of this big, giant jollof pot could be sourced in Nigeria. And that has brought some form of investment for locally sourced materials in the country. So we thank Hilda Baci once again for this effort, big effort.
8,780 kilograms achieved by Hilda Baci and Gino. So at about 4:06 p.m. yesterday, the Guinness World Records confirmed that the new record has been set for largest serving of Nigerian-style jollof rice. Ghana, Senegal,
Cameroon.
No, they're not even listed.
Over to you now.
It's a privilege listed.
But respect. Absolutely. But someone who will not get to taste this rice, except the refrigerated, because he will have wasted his. The president, when he returns, because we understand that he has cut short his working vacation, and he'll be returning to the country today. Of course, this is not related to the jollof. It was just pun intended there. But that's quite interesting. On September the 4th, it was announced that President Bola Tinubu will embark on a 10 working day vacation
holiday.
But I wanted to highlight that it's working days, because a lot of people did the math and said, 10 plus 4, that's 14, so it's long overdue. But if you were to use working days, which was what was indicated in that release, it's meant to resume on the 18th. Or is it 19th? But he's cutting short his working vacation. We understand that during that of course, we saw that he met with the French President Emmanuel Macron. The statement had said he will also spend time in the United Kingdom. So what exactly is responsible for this? A lot of people would naturally ask, but he's coming back today. Perhaps we'll get answers to those questions.
And it was beautiful to see Mr. President and, French President Emmanuel Macron in what appears to be, increasing and deepening a friendship. The generational gap between them also must be noted. But we hope that translates into, Mr. President taking some of the things that we see in France and duplicating them back here in Nigeria. And we must point to the youth of the President of France. And we want Mr. President to increasingly, consider giving, the youth an opportunity in the country to also serve, because French President Emmanuel Macron, or the country itself, is a testament, to the opportunities given to the youth to thrive. So
perhaps he's coming back, because I do not know why he's cutting it short. You can only speculate, but I know that the River State issue is maybe in the front burner after the governor and the House of Assembly members, which I stand to be corrected, which the president doesn't have the power to suspend any elected officials, but I think we've said that over and over. But we'll have to keep repeating it so that the Supreme Court can act once and for all and get us out of this mess. The president doesn't have the powers to suspend even a local government chairman. But it's been done, he's did it, the National Assembly ratified it, and here we are. So it's a bad chapter in our democracy that some of us who are Democrats, who are patriotic, we don't want to remember it. That's why referencing the sole administrator is even difficult for me, because I don't know where it exists in our laws. It's just an aberration of some sort. But what has been done has been done. The argument to the effect that, it brought peace and all of that. Well, if the lacuna is in the Constitution, you can't resort to self-help. That's what politicians do. And this is why we'll continue to speak against it. The governor had no right to say can't recognize this House of Assembly member, because without the Speaker, the members of the House can, even if you're elected as a member of the House of Assembly or the Senate or the House of Reps, if the Speaker or the Senate President doesn't swear you in, you cannot be a member. You'll just be elected and your mandate will just be held back. It's still the same Speaker that will declare your seat vacant. The law is very clear. The constitutional latitude doesn't give the president the powers to suspend elected officials. He can even declare a state of emergency by suspicion of very strong. That's why I don't argue about state of emergency. My argument is about suspending elected officials. State of emergency is neither here nor there. Everybody can argue that. But I guess it's coming back to undo what he's done. It's a bad chapter in our history who puts it on record that that is it. That's why we want the Supreme Court to make a pronouncement so that all of us rest on this matter. But also the UNGA is coming up again, I think, United Nations General Assembly. So there's a lot to be done, and there's a lot going on in the polity in terms of the economy, in terms of security. I agree that the president should take a break. He's a human being. The man is over 70 years old.
Sure.
So people who make the furore of vacation, I don't know, even if you work in anywhere you work, really Nigeria is not easy. Nigerians will say it's not beans. So the man should take a break and have his time wherever he wants to have his time. Just as some of us were thinking that maybe there'll be a time when Nigerian president will also take a rest at Obudu Ranch or Mambila or somewhere. Maybe come around my house area. That's just a joke. But the man deserves to rest. But now he's back, refreshed, I guess. It's now time to work. Guys, what do we have?
But very good point there, Jeffrey. Some Nigerians are saying, oh, why does it have to be France all of the time? We'll look forward to a time when presidential vacations will be done in maybe Obudu Cattle Ranch or the green fields and the beautiful scenery in Taraba State, you know, or any other place, you know, the Ikogosi Hills in Ekiti State. That's the advocacy of Nigerians. But speaking to returning to work prematurely, there's a lot for Mr. President to return to, actually, with federal government workers, you know, coming out to protest poor conditions of service. We heard about those in the Ministry of Women Affairs the other day, but there's also the non-academic staff union, which has issued yet another warning strike. And the issues remain the same. In a letter that they released just recently, they're talking about the unjust disbursement of 50 billion naira earned academic allowances, non-payment of outstanding withheld salaries, and 25 to 35% salary increment and renegotiation of the year 2009 federal government NASU and SANU agreements. And of course, we know that even when the non-academic staff union and the senior staff academic union of universities go on strike, of course, it always affects academic activities and causes yet another setback for Nigerian tertiary education system. And these issues, you know, have been going back and forth since the middle of the year. I recall we also, you know, interviewed some SANU officials just back in July. Kayode.
Indeed, and that's why we're putting everything together, because it affects the nation's economy. As we take a look at the economy's health, latest inflation figures show yet another drop. We're at 20.12 now. And naturally, the government is latching onto this. But what is behind the figures? We'll find out on the program today as we speak with a representative from the government.
And we'll head down to the weights of Rivers State. You know, as we said, the president is expected back today, 16th, 18th perhaps. The governor will be returned, the members of assembly will be returned, the deputy governor will be returned. So we'll also explore the issues of Rivers State as far as the polity is concerned today, and we'll be joined by someone from the APC as we speak to the issue as of Rivers politics on the program.
And that's not all. We'll also create space to talk politics, picking back on events of the World Athletics Championship. So much to talk about as far as that is concerned. And we'll have our sports correspondent, Austin Okunakwan, to weigh in on matters arising, you know, especially following some concerns about the treatment of Nigerian athletes. So stay with us for that very compelling conversation.
Oh, yes. Congratulations to Toby Amushan, by the way. We must say that.
Always making us proud.
Just for us to put it out there, her name is Amushan. Toby Amushan, not Amusa. I've heard a lot of Amusa. Her name is Amushan.
As long as there's Toby inside.
It's important. Yeah. I keep doing this test of sorts when people see my name.
Or what?
I know she's from Ogun State.
She's from Ogun State.
That's her name. The most important thing is to figure out to get it right. And I usually do this test.
Ogun people. Now,
we should all learn. I mean, we learn to pronounce names like. We learn to pronounce even names from outside the country. We take time, particularly tennis names. If you watch tennis well, you see how tricky those names are. But we sit down and learn to pronounce it. So I think it's important naturally to also figure out how to pronounce names, because I think it shows respect.
Yes,
absolutely. It shows that I appreciate your person and I want to approach you right, and just pronounce it wrong.
And for the purpose of education, what I learned in training school, how we were taught to pronounce names, it's not really easy. There's international name, there's foreign name, and there's local name. They say you may play around foreign names, but international names and local names you can't do not play around it.
You can always tacitly leave out, some of the time, not all of the time, and perhaps refer to titles, especially when the titles are prominent, such that you avoid murdering names. But we must always go the extra mile to learn appropriate, correct pronunciation of names, because names are the most important part of a person's identity. And so when we learn them, we're placing the premium on the identity of the person.
I remember it was hard for me to learn.
Oof. Now you're acing it. By the way, Bukola has a class on names pronunciation just for a little fee. She's gonna teach.
I had to break the words in syllables to be able to, because I was on the news on the radio then. Say, God have mercy. Okay,
so we'll put a pause on ideal articulation of names. When we return, we'll bring you a review of the day's dailies. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's good to be back. And let's head straight to the papers. And this morning, Mr. Ifetayo Adeni, media analyst, our very own dependable media analyst, joins us for a review of the dailies. Welcome, Mr. Adeni. And let's start with the Guardian newspaper this morning. It gives us quite a lot to reflect on as far as the economy is concerned. And, that is huge on our lineup today. So let's see what the Vanguard, the Guardian, is telling us. Money illusion fuels fiscal crisis as states' debts deficits soar. It's a page 6 read. And of course, it's also reminiscent of the hard tackle by the opposition against the federal government about, plunging the country into a debt crisis despite, its record of increased revenue. The Guardian also takes us through, a graph that gives us a vivid picture of what it's trying to say, from 2016 tracking revenue all the way till 2025. And you see there, states' FAC earnings. I wonder if you've had time, to look at this, but how do you weigh in on this, particularly the implications that this has for the Nigerian economy? Mr. Ifetayo.
Yeah, they used to say it's not how much money you make or whether from internally generated revenue or from federal allocation, is how you are being able to manage that the money or the resources or the loan, whatever it is. Sometimes the state and the federal government, they just borrow habitually and it's not translating to both social and infrastructure on ground that people can feel. And it's just a pity that they are plunging not just their particular state, but even the nation into debt crisis. We've heard of African nations because they are not been able to pay or service their loan, and the foreign government taking over most of their critical infrastructure. I just pray that we don't get to that. You know, in as much as they get so much, what I would advise them is that they should think out of the box. There are so many ways you can generate revenue, you know, to meet your whatever plans or agenda or infrastructure that you plan to put in place. It's not all the time we must go to the lender. You know, even the Bible says that the borrower is a slave to the lender. So I just pray that they don't turn us, they don't turn the nation, you know, becoming a slave to foreign power. That is why they dictate who become what. That is why when you tend to do something, they will tell you devalue your naira, you know, because you have borrowed so much that they tend to control whatever goes on in the affairs of your nation. But I would just say some of our political leaders, not just anytime you have something to do, you go straight to want to borrow because you need to put some infrastructure in place. Look inward. Nigeria is so blessed with so many natural resources. Our tourism has not been explored. We have number there when it comes to population, the creative economy, so many things, even agriculture. So, but all the time they just go because they have access to borrow. They should look at if you are borrowing what you cannot pay back, you are definitely plunging the nation or your state into a debt, and of course the lender will begin to control you.
Quite some point. For the purpose of, I like to give reference for the purpose of everyone. So money illusion is just a technical term to say it may have increased nominally, but when you do the conversion, it's close to being the same. So you may have used something that will get you 1,000 units or the same amount. Let's say when you talk about foreign exchange, for instance, that's what happens with our I wanted to call it trade balance in terms of deficit and all of that. So the same number of units of things is now getting you some extra money, not because of necessarily you're giving more things or producing more things, just a simple illustration. That's why the Vanguard had to do that dollar versus naira, just to show you that, okay, in naira terms is increasing, but what about it in dollar terms? But
it's dropping actually in dollars.
It's dropping in dollars, but in naira terms is increasing. And it's a simple explanation. It is the harmonization of the foreign exchange market that has brought that. But I think the bigger part for all of us, Mr. Feta, I guess that's what we're trying to argue here.
So it's not necessarily that we're producing more.
We may be producing more, but not, the number doesn't mean it's an aggressive production in that sense. So for instance, it was 750, you know, artificial as they call it, or Nigeria was defending the naira, so it kept us around 500, 700. But now no more defending the naira, so it's scale. So what if $1 is now 1,500. So if you earn anything in dollar now that used to give you 700 naira,
it now gives you 1,500.
So it's the same 1 unit.
Yeah.
1 unit by more money. So that's what I mean by money illusion in this sense. So, but I guess the argument is to the effect of how far-reaching the impact is. Let's go to the Vanguard newspaper. Bandits abduct 40 in Zamfara mosque as peace deal collapses. Bandits abduct 40 in Zamfara as peace deal collapses. The rider has it that troops foil multiple terrorist attacks in Katsina, Kebbi, Zamfara. Gunmen kidnap Catholic priest in Kogi. So we can see that as much as our military is doing such great and fantastic work to the best of their ability within what they have, these bandits are not relenting. Mr. Fetayo, having a peace deal and having bandits in that conversation is a bit disturbing.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. You know, bandits making deal with them because they don't have a structure, they don't have a leader, they operate in that independently, because what happened in Zamfara will be different from what is happening in Kebbi. So I think our security, in as much they are doing their best, I think it's high time the investment in technology. You know, you are talking about AI. I'm sure every local government, every community have a coordinate that you can see what has happened in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, when they receive a distress call and all of that. You know, to abduct 40 people is not just an individual, not just one person or 2 people. And now I want to make it clear, now you can see that it's happened in the mosque. So these people, they are enemy of the state, not just because they want to Islamize or they want to Christianize. This is out of it. And security is a collective effort of both the stakeholder, the citizen, the government, the police, whatever have been. But I believe that our government, they can do more. They should invest more in technology. They should invest more in community relations, you know, because sometimes the way some police, when you go through some communities, the way some police will be mounting roadblocks, you know, harassing those who are coming from farm or to collect something from them. You know, they might not be friends, and they usually say that police is your friend. So there are so many things we need to look at to nip this insecurity situation in the bud. Every hand must be on deck. They must invest more when it comes to technology. You know, there's a Google map that they can use to see what has happened in the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Those are the things. If you don't have it, invest in it. Bring foreign or technical partner to come and train your personnel so that we can have a safe community and a safe state.
All right, let's take a look at New Telegraph newspaper. Leads with incessant strikes. FG insensitive to doctors' welfare, says enemy. That's the Nigerian Medical Association. Just to be clear, it's not just in the health sector that we're having conversations around strike action, even in the education sector with SANU and NASU as well, who have issued 7-day strike notice over earned allowances, others. So it looks like it's a season of strikes. At least if the government is not able to do something, it will mean that the health sector is going to be in a major issue, and the education sector, particularly tertiary education, as well. It's almost like we always come back to this point. No matter how far we go, we always come back to this point of strike. I don't know. You've probably been tracking this government's handling of labor issues. Do you think this government has done well?
No, not at all. For me, I think if they want to tackle any problem, you need to do it holistically. You know, we are talking about the health sector and their welfare, and when the doctors are complaining, now it's not about salary, now it's about the welfare, the emolument, you know, and to make sure they operate in a safe, conducive environment. They have tools to work with. We are talking about education as well. Non-teaching staff, they are complaining. They just felt that once we take care of the lecturer, that's all. No, there are so many conduits. It's just like a father, or as a father in the house, you need to say, once I give my family food, that's all. You need to look at their welfare, you need to look at their health, their education. I think it is high time government needs to put their house in order. Look at, you know, the number of your staff strength. You know what they need, both direct and indirect staff, especially working in that environment. And we have budget for all this. So I don't know whether they don't get their statistics right, or during the budget, even during the budget presentation, they will see whether padded or not padded, whether increase it or lower it. So those are the things should be looked into. Every year, why must it be that we must discuss whether it's not ASU or SANU or whatever it is, or NMA going on strike, threatening to go on strike? And these are the critical sector that can make a healthy nation. And that's why some of our doctors who said it in the past, they are, you know, going abroad to look for greener pasture and all of that. We need to stop this if we want to make sure that we want Nigerians to have a healthy living, because the health sector is very critical, even especially education sector too. They are very critical when it comes to growth or in any economy.
Yeah, so Mr. President has a lot to consider upon his return, especially as it has to do with, you know, workers in different sectors. But just before we wrap up on the review, Mr. Ifetaya, there's more to look at. Look at the top of the nameplate on the New Telegraph newspaper. That also gives us an insight into how the economy is playing out. NBS August inflation rate declines by 1.76% to 20.12%. And there's also a rider there. Import, FG suspends controversial 4% FOB levy implementation. But as far as inflation is concerned, the bigger conversation is how it has not significantly impacted on the price of foodstuff. Mr. Fetayo, I'd like you to speak to this latest inflation rate.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to commend Mr. Wale Edun for, putting on hold the 4% that the custom wants to introduce. Nigeria, we are still dominantly dependent on export, whatever it is they are bringing in, and introducing, maybe because they are proposing the 5% in fuel consumption in January next year. So you want to introduce 4%, and these are the things that affect trade. These are the things that discourage, investor or foreign direct investment. And talking about 1%, yes, in as much as a number, but it has not significantly, have an impact in the cost of food, foods or cost of living within a society. And I think they still need to do more when it comes to making we just had one of our guests that attempted Guinness World Record. I was just saying this morning, there's nothing bad if federal government can say, in all the geopolitical, so in all the local government, at least we have a Nigerian jollof rice spot. That if you know that you cannot afford a meal, at least go there. There will be a kitchen that you will be served. I'm just saying that on a lighter note, but it's something that they can look into, that the citizens, they can feel the impact. It's not just 1% reduction, but anyway, a number 1 + 1 will equal to 2, 1 - 2 will equal to 1. So if there's any reduction, I think they can do more. But I must commend them for putting a hold on that 4% FOB levy that they want to put on import, because most of our things are being imported, and is the consumer that will bear the increase in the cost of importation.
Well, a lot to chew on as far as the economy is concerned, and of course we'll be asking those important questions. We must thank you very much, Mr. Adeni Fetayo, a media analyst that always comes through for us on this on the Daily Newspaper Review.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. There's more to talk about this morning as far as the economy is concerned, but of course we have other aspects to explore as we go through also to aspects of governance from the subnationals. But we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll kickstart our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Just before we get into the big conversation around the nation's economy, well, the former vice president and former presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, had released a statement through his media aide. It was a quote of some of the things he said about this government, how he's not sure that this government is able to handle hunger and all of that. Then inflation figures came out yesterday. But the interesting thing about the figures is that, they've since been rebased. So you can't really compare what we have now to maybe last year when it was in 30s and say it has reduced. It was really just rebased. So it's a different methodology that is being used. But what is the reality really? Because when you do the math, sometimes you realize that we've not really gone that far. It's just the numbers that look different. But in reality, things are just basically slowing down. But let's, before that, give you an advisory, particularly if you're in Lagos State. Today, obviously, is a rainy day. So if you are not out yet, please get ready for the rains. Get your umbrella. The rains are good until it catches you unaware or unprepared, and you do not want to be in that situation. So plan your movement, because there will definitely be traffic in the usual hotspots. So if you do not have to go out, stay back, work from home. Well, I'm not the person you should quote when you are mailing HR and saying, I can't make it to work today. But if you have enough reason not to go out, kindly stay back so we don't have all of the traffic jam pack and the gridlock, and then you don't regret it at the end of the day and maybe catch a cold. So that's an advisory for people living in Lagos. The temperature is about 24 degrees. It is raining, so please be prepared. We had our own fair taste of the rain this morning. Bukola had to say it is raining mangoes. I've never seen that before.
Well, the advisory is not just for Lagos residents, if you're in Ogun State as well, particularly if you travel along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, heading towards Lagos. On your right-hand side of the expressway, particularly when you approach the Long Bridge, you may want to slow down and practice extreme caution as you drive because of the flooded right-hand side of the bridge, that pretty much splashes water and affects your windscreen. So, and customarily, visibility is poor whenever it rains. So you may want to, check your vehicles and be extremely cautious. Drive to stay alive. Yeah, that's it for Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
I like that, drive to stay alive. But I must say that I love the way the sun rose in spite of the rain.
Yeah,
it was really beautiful. That video was done by Jeffrey, by the way. That's a work of art. You can see the sun in spite of the rain. So it gave the weather, or the atmosphere, a different color tone. And I must say it was beautiful to see. But while we are admiring the weather, let us talk about the economy. Yes, we could talk about the weather all day, but let us talk about the economic weather this morning. As we said earlier on, latest inflation figures have been released. It is 20.12 now for the previous month. But what does that mean for you in the context of the price of items and the market, the things that the presidential candidate of the PDP in 2023 had to say? That's Mr. Atiku Abubakar. We were joined by Dr. Tokme Fashua on the program this morning. He's an aide to President Bola Tinubu, whom, of course, we expect later today. Special advisor on economic affairs to President Tinubu joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Dr. Fashua. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the invite.
Well, it's good to have you on the program. So we're checking in on the economic weather. Usually when the inflation figures come out, people use it to gauge how far we have gone, how good we're doing. 20.12 from the 21.88 that we had in the previous month. Clearly, that is a drop. But there's the usual conversation around how much that is really impacting on the people. Because what you see in that figure is just the rate at which prices are increasing. It has since slowed down. So it doesn't mean a drastic drop in price. It just means that we're not driving fast towards high prices as we used to in previous times. And when you compare it to what we had last year, it's really just rebased, because we were 30 plus last year. So it's been rebased, the methodology is different, the food basket is smaller than it used to be, right? That's why we have the figures that we have right now. But I wanted to just juxtapose this with the statement made by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, saying that, well, the government may not agree with it, but people are dying daily of hunger. And even the ones alive are finding it really tough. Mr. Fashua.
Well, thank you very much. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has only made a political statement. And of course, maybe that's to be expected in this season, because he's trying to see how he can wangle his way back into presidency. I don't comment much on political things, but it's what it is. He doesn't have to commend the present government for his achievements, but at least sometimes the rest of us, we need to just stick to the black and white, to the empirical evidence on ground. 20.12% inflation. It's still large in many quarters, because what it's saying is that prices are still increasing, but not at the rate that it used to increase in the past. It's not even just a matter of rebasing. The rebasing came in about 6 years after it ought to have been done, and I think our concern should be that our statistics and data should be much more on point and much more frequent, because without data is the center of everything in today's information age, post-industrial age. So the rebasing was done, and it actually gave us the true picture where we were, you know. So for any emotional reason, if somebody believes that, no, we should still be around 30% of inflation and all of that, well, that's their own cup of tea. The bottom line is that a rebasing has been done several months back, and what we have seen since then is consistent drop in inflation. I've always told anybody that cared to listen, you know, inflation does not increase forever, not in any country. We have Ghana next to us here. They had inflation up to 40%, 42%. Today, the inflation is trending down to single digit. Nigeria's inflation will get to single digit as well, a matter of time. Pakistan, an economy that actually mirrors Nigeria's economy a lot, got inflation up to 40% about 2 years ago. Today, they're actually battling with deflation, which is even a bigger issue because there's no incentive for people to produce more goods and to push themselves, you know, so everything like goes down south. Nigeria's inflation is certainly going to single digit, and that's not the only index that we can see. Yesterday, the Naira closed, Naira traded at some point at 1,497 Naira to the dollar. For the first time in more than perhaps 8 months, we actually clocked the 1,400 region. And that's remarkable. And of course, when you look at why is inflation reducing, if anybody that cares to know, of course, food is one of our key drivers of inflation. Exchange rate is also another key driver of inflation. Exchange rate has stabilized and is actually strengthening via market forces without anybody trying to dictate where the rate should go. And food prices are also going down. In fact, I ran into a certain gentleman called African Farmer Mogaji, who is someone I respect in the agri space. And I mean, he knows a lot about things like tomatoes and so on. And for the first time, like he told me, for the first time in 26 years, this year we did not have that usual ruckus around tomato prices soaring and all between May, June, July. We've had quite a bit of stability there. So food prices are dropping. In fact, you know, some farmers in some quarters are saying, oh, why is the government is crashing food prices because they want to make it affect them negatively. I mean, the majority of Nigerians, including these farmers, are enjoying the fact that food prices are more stable and, I mean, lower, because no farmer produces all the food that he needs. You can only produce some part of the food that you need. So there's been strategic decisions taken, including things like the temporary ban on shea nuts, which our local industries need. You know, so like cashew nut export, you know, I think that one is in the offing. Shea nut export for 6 months has been actually pronounced and so on. You know, but this actually focuses on building this economy from the ground up, you know, and I think that's what we should be looking at. You know, we're digging the roots. Like I would always make, you know, example of the Chinese bamboo tree. You plant and you wet it for 5 years, and you think nothing is going to happen. When it starts to grow at maybe 5 meters every day, and then you may not even be able to control it. So I think that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and under his guidance, and all the people that are running the economy, the coordinating minister, the vice president, and every other juggernaut that's actually running this economy, we seem to be getting it right. And I think that, unfortunately for opposition, they just have to swallow the bitter pill, that it's going to be very tough for them to continue marketing the bad economy thing, minding the fact that part of what we're managing is also what we inherited from the past administration, especially the post-COVID issues that actually affected every country.
Dr. Fachua, well said. Well, I'm not going to argue with the number because I will respect the figures. So I must commend the numbers as far as I've looked at the numbers from January, the rebase numbers coming to maybe is almost 5% for maybe the headline, and then about slightly over 4% for food inflation. So that is commendable. The argument is about the lived-in reality of people. The macroeconomic numbers, I've also seen some of them. They are in the right direction as far as the macroeconomics is concerned. But it's the lived-in reality. I also do not entirely agree with some of the classification that was done by the MBS, but that's what we have. When they redistributed the weightage and increased some numbers, I do not agree entirely with it. But as I said, that is what we have. And to the issue of the dollar against the Naira, there's also an explainer, the explainer of the fact that we're also happy that the fiscal authority, no, the monetary authority has been focus on their job. But if you look at from what has happened from the FOMC in America to the NFP numbers, to the CPI numbers, to the PPI numbers, to numbers that are expected coming up, I think, in 2 days' time when Fed is expected to either go dovish, hold, but most people expect a rate cut. The dollar is taking a beating, so naturally the naira will be strengthened. I just need to put that perspective. But let's talk about whether Nigeria is really prepared, or we're properly prepared for the capitalist economy this government is building. Do you think we were?
Well, well, let me put it this way. As an economist and one that is engaged in continuous research, I would always try to tell people that, listen, the isms are dead. America is supposed to be the biggest capitalist country in the world, but they have some of the biggest social protection, in the world as well. I mean, Britain is known to be a bit of a socialist country. The Scandinavian countries are running social democracy. China itself is meant to be a communist country, but they are as capitalist as can be. So everybody, every growing economy in the world and every progressive economy is mixing and matching. So it's mix and match. Take the best from capitalism, take the best from wherever socialism, communism, whatever works, and move on. And knowing your people and knowing the needs of your people. Nigeria is not necessarily a fully capitalist country. We know where we're coming from, but of course, some of the tenets of capitalism does work, like entrepreneurship, making sure that people produce and move on, and ensuring that we don't dig our heads in the sand while the world passes us by. So you can see, and going back to the some of the issues that you raised, first of all about the MBS. Oh, come on, Jeff, the MBS has only increased the basket of goods that they track on the CPI, the composite purchasing index, so the inflation numbers, they've only increased it from 700 plus to 960. I think that's commendable because the world is changing. Economy is dynamic, and there are many goods that people get involved in as the world gets more sophisticated. I mean, in 1960, there were many things that were being enjoyed abroad that Nigerians didn't know about. This is 2025, and now everybody is on the internet. We see what's going on. And you said the categorization, for example, the reduction of the power of food. I mean, listen, about 20 years ago, people didn't even buy things like data. Do you know that people who buy data now at the expense of everything else? Some people even starve themselves just because they want to have data. Now, you mentioned the lived experiences. I think it was Kade that mentioned lived experiences. Yes, it is true, but I mean, how do you argue lived experiences when food prices are dropping? When food prices are dropping, it affects everybody. The key thing about poverty is once you can solve food poverty, you are on your way to somewhere. And if food prices are dropping, I think we should. I mean, some farmers are complaining that, oh, they'd rather export all their food and make dollars. The problem with that is it's a great idea, but many of the times we don't even get the export proceeds coming back into this country. They hold those export proceeds abroad. They tell you, what, they have things to import. They're going to use it to import things. So everybody, a lot of people have been playing tricks on the country. And I want you to look at the trade numbers as well. In the last quarter, Q2, we actually had trade surpluses of about 7 trillion. In the whole of 2024, the commendable trade balances we had was about 15 trillion. But in one quarter, we had 7 trillion. Maybe this year we're going to close at over 20 trillion or 25 trillion of trade balances. In fact, I read another article somewhere that Nigeria actually had the highest trade balance, according to Business Day, the highest trade balance in surplus balance in Africa. The trade surplus in Africa, and that's commendable. So a lot of things are working. Like I said, we're digging roots. So it's not just trying to play politics with numbers or juggling numbers. This is real. And I think that everybody should take note of that. So the lived experience, of course, in every country there are poor people. In Nigeria, there are a lot of poor people who can be helped. The last time the humanitarian minister did disclose that they have spent about 420 billion on cash transfers. Great stuff. Cash transfer for those who are really, really vulnerable, who can't help themselves. They exist in every country, but the focus of this government is actually on productivity, which needs to go needs to go up. So it's about productivity, it's about increasing the GDP per capita and making sure that everybody actually contributes to the bottom line. So I think there are many positives, from trade to inflation, to the Naira value. You mentioned the Naira value. It's not just that the US dollar is taking a bit of a beating right now. The point is also that we have a great, we have about $42 billion in reserves. And of course, we have positive trade balances, which may result in a positive balance of payment, balance for the year as well, in a very good way. This is real re-engineering of the economy that we're seeing. And in fact, manufacturing exports grew by about 64% year on year, and from one quarter to the other grew at 173%. Manufacturing goods exports from Nigeria, according to the last trade balance, trade figures that were released, I think, on Friday last week into Monday this week. So I think we have a lot of things to be cheerful about, really, if you ask me.
Thank you, Dr. Fashua. Now let's look at these positive indicators as against what's on ground in terms of the realities. First of all, perhaps we should put it in proper perspective. If I sit here as a representative of those who go to the markets, it may not be accurate to say that food prices have crashed. Maybe there's a gradual decline when you consider the price of staples, bag of rice, vegetable cooking oil for vegetable, palm oil. The prices as against what obtained, some months back have not crashed. Maybe they're declining. But let's look at those indicators as against what's on ground. The federal government says that the reserves have increased. You quoted $42 billion, but the speaker not too long ago spoke about the concern of Nigeria's burgeoning debt, 149 trillion naira, and warned that this is particularly not good for fiscal stability. When you consider the positive economic indicators as against concerns about federal workers, NASU is on strike, the doctors are complaining, then what's the justification for more borrowing without it translating into better fortunes for government's workforce?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I also go into the market myself. That's the kind of life I live, So it's not just you that go into the market. You just try to state things in your own words, So we are all in the market together. And of course, yes, some of the prices have crashed. Even when the temporary ban on shea nuts came out, that led to a reduction in that price by 30%. And that's significant, And shea nuts is not only for cosmetics, it also goes into food. In this country and beyond. It even goes into some of the chocolate products, as it were, So regarding, now you now dovetailed into the issue of borrowing. Okay, first of all, at 39% of GDP, Nigeria is actually under-borrowed if we use that index. Of course, even regarding, debt servicing to revenue, the last number I got last month was 64%. In 2022, there was a point in time when that number went to 120%, when we used all our revenues to service debt and then had to borrow 20% extra just to pay that same debt servicing. So indeed, our debt management is not too bad. I think that we're doing a good job in the area of debt management, if you ask me. The states were able, for one reason or the other, to pay down 42% of their debts between 2023 and 2024. 42% of the debts of the states disappeared. So listen, a country is run like a company. A company that's thriving, let's call it a conglomerate, that's a large company, is not thinking about how to pay down debt. You service debt, you pay down some, you take new ones, because you're growing and you want to expand your horizon and your capacity in the global market. You have to go into more productivity, and that may necessitate you taking on some more debt. Of course, I welcome the criticisms in terms of maybe looking at, what is our priority? What kind of debt should we be taking? What rates should we be looking at? Who should we be taking the debts from? How are we managing the debts? Are we ensuring that the money is actually going to what they are meant for? Are those debts project tied? And is that cash flow related that can bring in the money to service the debt, if not to repay everything? But look, Nigeria has a huge lacuna of infrastructural needs. We need about 3 trillion or more every year, maybe about $3 trillion to actually begin to make an impact on our infrastructure. We have rail to build, we have roads to build. Even the arterial roads that are coming up in Nigeria, Lagos, Calabar, Lagos, Badagry, Sokoto, and there's even another one that should be between Maiduguri and Sokoto and Co, and another from Calabar to Maiduguri to cover this country. All of those things are very important infrastructure that should come. And of course, we still have a lot of maintenance work to do on a lot of the infrastructure we have built. One of the things I've been writing on, I think I wrote about that last week in Premium Times, and a few other, I think the cable as well, is the centrality of infrastructure towards reducing multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty is defined as non-debt, non-income poverty,
right,
and poverty relating to the availability of infrastructure, basic infrastructure. Therefore, the only way you can reduce multi-dimensional is to fund infrastructure, whether it's roads, bridges, power infrastructure, including renewable energy, even things like water, and all the things that people need, schools, education, that's health, and so, so that's very important for us to do. And unfortunately, we haven't actually updated the multidimensional poverty data since 2022.
Well, it'll be good to see.
Every 6 months, if you ask me. So by now I think we've taken quite a number of people out of multi-dimension. We're not 133. From my own calculation, about 10 million people have been positively impacted. Maybe we should be talking about 120 million or even a lot less.
Well, Mr. Fashua, some may even say we've done 50 million, but we need to see the data. And I'm glad you mentioned that there is no data to back this out yet. Back this up, rather. We need that data. On a final note, there's something being described as money illusion. So for the states, for example, FAC, the allocation has increased to 7 trillion from the 1+ trillion it was in 2016. Now, 2016, the Naira dollar was less than 300. Now it's 1.5. So when you see that it's increased, and even the president says we have increased allocation to states, so please wet the grass more. People get a sense that, oh, there's more money, but in actual terms, when you look at it deeper, it's less, and that's converting it to dollars, because we know that there's still a lot of dependence on these things. Even people who are earning wages, the minimum wage, for example, in those terms is less than what it is. So I'd like you to speak to this money illusion, because the government usually touts this as a win. But in the real sense of it, it's not a win when you look at the full picture.
No, well, thank you very much. Money illusion is a concept, a well-known concept in economics, and maybe you're having a high velocity of money without actually being able to purchase as much as you can. However, in this instance, it's not just like that. It's not, it doesn't work fully well. Why? Because of one critical thing. The prices of factors of production have not increased at the same rate as the depreciation in the value of the Naira. So if you had 100,000 Naira today, whereas it may not be able to buy you what 100,000 will buy 2-3 years ago, it can still take you some way. Because, for example, the price of labor has actually not increased commensurately. For example, so those who are in the construction world are still able to do a lot more with the Naira that they have. This is a Naira economy, not a dollar economy. Therefore, it doesn't actually work, scientifically and logically for us to just simply convert the money into dollar and say, oh, look at it where the dollar is. Nigeria is still a very cheap country to live in. Nigeria is cheaper. People who have gone to Ghana and come back, and I've done that a few times in the past, will tell you there's a lot, the Naira goes a lot farther than the Ghanaian CD and so on. Of course, the Naira goes a lot farther in Nigeria, and I've made that analysis several times. Sometimes it's been very heavily criticized, but it is what it is. It's scientific that the Naira can do a whole lot for you in Nigeria than it would for you in... The other time I even did an analysis, looking at rentals in the UK. For a 3-bedroom flat in Knightsbridge, you probably would need about 10,000 pounds every month. That's a lot of money. But even in our most expensive place in Banana Island, it's a lot less. You may be like a third of the money. And that is what we mean, that, in Naira, if you're trading in Naira and you're in Nigeria, you do a lot more with your Naira than you would in many of these other countries that we cannot. Therefore, I don't want us to let that be a get-out-of-jail-free card, especially for the state governments. Because some of them, I've heard some of the governors say, oh, yes, we are getting this money, but in dollar terms. No, it's not dollar terms, it's Naira. First of all, the first charge on your money is to pay your staff, and and of course, many of the state governors have been magnanimous enough. They are paying even a higher minimum wage than the federal. Some of them are paying. In fact, one of them, I think, is Imo State or so, increased to 120,000. In Lagos State, there is 100,000 for minimum wage, because they also are aware that, look, there's a need to do something because the value of the Naira depreciated a few years ago. So, but there's a lot that can be done apart from paying salaries, doing infrastructure work, which impacts directly on multi-dimensional poverty, little infrastructure, road work and all of that, that's the next level, and that's what many of them already have started to do. I think we're going to see an explosion of those little infrastructure developments in Nigeria, because the factors of production, the cost of price, the price of price have not increased. Some of them have not increased at the same rate as the Naira has devalued. So we can't be talking about money illusion here. It's not just that simple.
You talked about, states prioritizing workers and, paying them increased minimum wage. What about federal workers? I thought you were going to address that. Despite increased borrowing, it's either the doctors are complaining that the federal government is not prioritizing their welfare, or it's NASU or some other federal workers who are being owed salaries. So if we're borrowing more, why is government prioritizing infrastructure development above human capital development?
No. Well, from what I know, the first charge on any money, whether at the federal or state level, is the human capital. You have to pay your people. As far as I know, the federal is not owing any major parastatal that I'm aware of. Maybe there may be labor disputes in one or two places. The doctors are asking for more money, okay, and the doctors are not on minimum wage, So the focus in the first part of the 2 years was on minimum wage, and we need to understand that minimum wage is actually for the lowest of the low. Well, the government felt that, look, 35,000 wasn't enough. There was some bargaining and all of that. Even though some of the labor people are now saying, 70,000 is too low. The federal government has committed to 70,000 at its own level, and from what I know so far, and I keep doing my research, the federal government is sticking to that, and the federal government is paying as and when due. There may be a few parastatals that have one or two issues here and there, but the federal government is paying salaries as and when due. You may talk about other issues, maybe what they call consequential adjustments across the board. In fact, I raised this issue with the head of service a few weeks ago, and she also assured me that all of that had been taken care of, the consequential adjustment across the board, for even from director to deputy director, assistant director, and so on. So it is untrue to say that the federal government is not prioritizing human capital. The federal government is, actually.
Well, the federal government is still owing wage awards, is also owing the outstanding.
Some of those.
So just to be clear that there's still money being owed, and we see federal government as a continuum. But we have to thank you so much. We're not able to get into what the Naira can do and what it cannot do. That itself is a whole conversation. But we'll have you back, because we need to also look at the reality between these figures. Because one thing we do sometimes is put the figures out there, because there's a lot of people can't really think beyond that. But let's help them also situate those issues. But we have to thank you so much, Dr. Tokwe Fashiwa, aide to President Bola Tinubu. I know the president is coming back today, so there's a lot of work to be done with his team. So we wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we're also counting down to September the 18th, because that's when it's expected that that state of emergency in River State would be lifted. But what exactly are the state of things, and does that look feasible now? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. From the economy, let's switch to politics at the sub-national. We're joined on the program by Darlington Nwoju, is the APC spokesman in Rivers State. Mr. Nwoju, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, literally everyone is counting down. Nigerians are counting down. 18th of September is 2 days from now, 48 hours to be precise, when the governor is expected to be reinstated after it was suspended. Give us your impression of what you make of that expectation.
Well, I think that a whole lot of expectations from Rivers people and by Rivers people that democratic structures be restored is one sure thing that any Democrat all over the world or around the world should clamor for, should hope for, should insist on. And so Rivers people are expectant, they expect that their governor comes to work. An accountable government should be in place because they do not feel a sense of ownership in the past 6 months. So that's what I think.
All right. For those of us who are political observers and watchers and take interest in these things, and from yours where you sit, what kind of a governor do you think that similarly Fubara will be coming back? Because from what we've seen, he's been tactically mobilized, speaking politically here. The House of Assembly, significant, overwhelming majority is pro-Wike, who is his political godfather, whose fight with him led us to where we are. The issue around the sole administrator, literally appointing, disbanding, suspending every other person in the agencies and ministries and government, and appointing new persons, including RESEC, was still a controversial issue. The issue of a very controversial landmine-loaded local government election that was held that has all of Wike's lieutenants in charge. What kind of a governor do you think similarly Fubara will be?
Well, the thinking out there is that politically speaking, he's been castrated. And so it is, he has to do the rapprochement and try to exhibit plenty of maturity in order to get the other arm of government, that is the legislature, to work with him and to see how he can fulfill the time of his remaining mandate with Rivers people. I think that plenty of maturity is required and is expected for him to be able to maneuver the obvious landmines. I look at them as landmines because it's difficult to work in an environment that I would rather choose to see as quite or a bit toxic, if you like. So there has to be plenty of maturity, not only from the camp of the governor, but also the members of the House of Assembly, who, for all I care, have this particular set of assembly members have not lived up to expectations for the average man on the streets of Port Harcourt. And so I stand to be corrected. It might be politically tainted views, as in my own view, but I want to tell you for sure that for the average man on the street, there is that feeling that these guys have not really represented us, as it were. So I think that going forward, there should be plenty of collaboration from both arms of government so that the grass will stop suffering. The grass being the people of Rivers State. They do not deserve the sort of thing that has happened to this state since October of 2023. And so they deserve fair representation, quality representation, good governance, accountability, transparency, and what we normally refer to as the democracy dividend. They deserve to have it. Rivers will deserve to have it.
Let me just ask you on the side, are you exhausted? You sound really exhausted. Is it me?
Yes, in fact, when I got the call for this interview, I was, in fact, for lack of a better word, yes, I agree, I accept that all the issues, the whole lot of issues, the cocktail of issues bedeviling the state, and also my political party, it gives a lot of worry, plenty of concerns, that there are deeper issues that concern and should concern society, that the sort of politics that is being played, the political playbook in Rivers State is disheartening, not only disheartening, it is not one that I would wish my children to look at and say, that was part of this process. No, no, no. We should understand and realize as Rivers people that the state has been completely demarketed by political actors. And I think that this generation of politicians owe Rivers people and Nigerians apologies.
Rivers politics can indeed be exhausting, and some would say it's another study in, political engineering, if you like, unique type of politics in Nigeria.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I wish to see plenty of research works on what is happening or what has happened in Rivers State. Yeah. I think universities should take interest in commissioning researches to understand what is actually playing out in Rivers State.
Now, you used a strong term earlier on that the suspended governor, who is returning hopefully by September 18, has been castrated politically. But what signs are there that relations between his government and officials, and of course the Wike loyalists in the State Assembly, have mended such that there'll be some stability going forward in Rivers State when he resumes?
Yes, that's where the maturity I spoke about earlier on, that's where it should come in. There has to be plenty of maturity in order to, because there is bottled up anger, and in politics, people do not easily forgive. People do not easily forgive. Forget about the media papering, or what you might call the pictures for the cameras and all that. All those photo ops amounts to nothing, because we do know that there is still plenty of bottled up anger from both ends. And so Rivers State, at the end of the day, we do not deserve what we are seeing today. And so I pray and wish and hope that the governor will be able to come out of this period, this very challenging period. I do not envy the governor at all. I do not envy him. And I wish that at the end of the day, he will come out stronger to serve the people of Rivers State for the remaining time of his mandate, hoping that in 2027, the state will be able to decide who should lead them going forward.
Ms. Awoju, let's talk about your party and then the fracture in your party. So we're all surprised to see persons we knew were not members of your party, but perhaps they joined your party before the election. Were not standard flag bearers in that election. I know a couple of them, so I'm not speaking to what I do not know. So 20 out of the 23 was won by the APC. But I don't think you were excited because perhaps your list was not the list that was presented to RISEC, or RISEC did not, I don't know how that is playing out. So what do you make of the fate of your party as far as the APC is concerned? Because Emeka Beke seemed to be having a run again with the national level, where he seemed to be losing out, and now he's trying to make a comeback. with all of this fight, participated in election, but the candidates were not recognized. I guess that is in court. What is going to happen going forward now? Similarly, Fubara, we wish him well. It's his government. He knows how best he's going to relate with all of the landmines around him. But let's talk about your party.
Well, Geoffrey is quite worrisome. However, you said I wasn't happy. Who said so? My party has won in the first place. And so we leave it to the court to decide or determine which list should actually fly at the end of the day, because individuals or organizations have the rights to do whatever they think is right. But it is the duty of judicial officers to interpret what our laws say is correct. And so if persons for the sake of political correctness choose to assault our constitution, assault the constitution of our own political party and the Nigerian constitution, how is that my business? It is the business, the onus lies on the judiciary to now say at the end of the day, oh, Mr. A was right and B was wrong. Now, let me say this for the sake of emphasis, and even at the risk of sounding like a broken record. On the 22nd of November 2023, an assault on our constitution was committed by Alhaji Umaru Ganduje, and he chose to do this without any sense of decency. And so we called his attention to the fact that here is our party constitution, and you cannot either sidestep our constitution or even abrogate it at any point in time. And the claim was that they got the approval of the NEC, the National Executive Committee of our party. And we are very aware that whereas the NEC has powers to dissolve every other organ of the party below it, outside of the National Convention, and the NEC has powers to stand in and, as it were, utilize or implement what the convention or congress of the party should be implementing. However, there is no way you can have a NEC where you have more than 20 governors thereabout, Mr. President, Vice President, Senate President, Speaker of the House, and other former governors or former leaders of our party, and you want to tell me, you want to convince me that NEC gave an approval to you to dissolve validly elected, democratically elected executives of your party without you bringing to NEC a memo showing that you have ever called or set up a disciplinary panel or committee to investigate the activities of these individuals, right, and that no committee anywhere, I challenge anybody, sat anywhere to investigate what happened in Rivers State, as to reach to a conclusion that we should be kicked out of office. And you woke up one morning to tell Nigerians that the NEC sat and approved that you dissolve validly elected executives. I think that is an insult and assault to democracy. And it's an insult to the leaders of APC in Nigeria. How dare you say that? It means you are saying that the NEC of the party does not know the constitution of our party. I refer them again to Article 21, 22, and 23 of the APC Constitution amended in March of 2022. It is very clear. There are steps, there are procedures, there are protocols that you must obey and respect.
Mr. Waju, clearly there are other deeper issues.
Any member.
Indeed, there are deeper issues beyond just the state of emergency. So some of the things we see now go all the way back. Whether or not there will be some sort of restitution or fixing those issues is another thing left to be seen. But I want to get a clearer picture of what the political structure in River State looks like right now? I mean, we hope that the governor will be reinstated from September the 18th. It looks like it. But what will the political, interplay look like? So the governor still in the PDP, right? We have the FCT minister also in the PDP. We have the APC winning most of the elections, the local government elections. The lawmakers in the states are still members of the PDP, in spite of what we saw them do. So who will be the political leader of the APC and the PDP in Rivers State now? Who will be calling the shots in that sense, Mr. Nwoju?
Well, I would choose to answer this way. If I were the governor of Rivers State, on my return on Thursday, I would announce my defection to the All Progressive Congress. I think the governor should join the APC, and we would gladly receive the governor into our party.
So would he then be the leader? Would he then be the leader of the APC if he joins the APC?
Is that?
Would he then be the leader of the APC if he joins the APC in the state?
The convention of our constitution.
Just at the point he was going to respond. But we'll try to reconnect with Mr. Nwoju so we get a better picture, really, of the political structure in Rivers State. So we'll reconnect. But Jeffrey, what are your predictions? Or what do you see playing out? Okay.
Mr.
Nwoju is back.
Yes.
All right. Please, can you start from the convention bit again, because we lost you there. I was frozen again.
Oh dear. Mr. Nwoju, can you hear us? We'll reconnect with him so that we get to the custom with that conversation and move on to other conversations. But it's an important conversation. It's an important question you've asked. I call Rivers politics the conundrum of absurdity. The more you look, the more, for lack of a better word, crazier it becomes. But let's take the thoughts of Mr. Nwoju. Mr. Nwoju, just start again and land on your thoughts, because the connection issues we had, we couldn't hear you clearly.
Yes, I was trying to say that if I were the governor of Rivers State, I would immediately announce my defection into the All Progressive Congress. And we would gladly receive him into our political party if I were the governor. Because by the convention of our party, if he joins the All Progressive Congress today, he becomes leader of the party.
But there's something that we're not talking about, which we really should, Mr. Nwoju, and that's the aspect of the opposition demanding accountability, that the sole administrator must be probed, particularly with regards to his management of Rivers' budget. Recall that the budget was increased by about 365 billion naira, with questions on aspects of the increase of the budget, and that goes to the APC-led government with question marks on why the budget was increased. I'd like you to speak to this, particularly as Rear Admiral Ibokete Bass prepares to hand over.
Oh dear.
It appears as if Mr. Nwoju has frozen again.
I think we'll just...
Officially, the APC...
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Nwoju.
I got your question.
Yeah.
I got your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was trying to say that APC never or has not demanded officially for Mr. Ibokete Bass to give account of his stewardship for the past 6 months. However, you recall that the budget approval he got it from the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And there is a committee from the House of Representatives oversighting the period of emergency. And so I do expect that that committee should be able to do his due diligence, come up with a report, and tell Nigerians what they found out. it is one of their core mandates in the business of legislation and lawmaking. So they should be able to tell Nigerians what they discovered, because there are a few issues, that leave so much to be desired, that attend to procurement. And so we would like to know if the Procurement Act 2017 was clearly obeyed or respected in award of contracts by Etebas. It is not for me as a Darlington, spokesperson of APC in Rivers State, to demand. But Rivers people believe that there should be a measure of accountability. And I think that, in my opinion, resonates with the majority of reasonable Rivers people.
So let me ask you that question, Mr. Nwojo, as we wind down. I don't like mincing words. Nyesom Wike, the Honorable Minister of the FCT, by action, what I mean by action, by what he's been able to pull off politically, is leading the APC and the PDP in Rivers State. And my reason is simple. The governor is PDP. He's his political godson. Significant, overwhelming majority of the House of Assembly are loyal to him, and they're still in the PDP, though they attempted to leave. But that has, you know how it got to the Supreme Court. Now, his men are literally the ones in charge of the local government, and 20 of them are of the APC. How does the APC, your group, intend to manage the future of the APC in the state? In 1 minute. Okay, we understand Darlington Nwojo is the publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State. I hope we could have I just was hoping we could get that excerpt from him as we wind down, but apparently the network, perhaps the rains, is playing a fast one on us guys. So I was saying that when it comes to Rivers State, it's a conundrum of absurdity. And the reason why it's difficult to interpret what is playing out is that from the action of the president, which we see as unconstitutional, the Supreme Court has, I don't know whether they're evasive, or I don't know what is going on with the Supreme Court as far as that is concerned, or the issue was, to the best of my knowledge, is reinstituted, but nothing has been done. The emergency has come to an end. We expected that that should have gotten an expedited action, because nobody is sure anymore or what, because when you look at the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there are only 4 ways a governor can leave office. His tenure ends, he resigns, he's impeached, or death. Outside those 4 ways. And the reason why this constitution is very strong on those kind of things, because of the political implication of touching those kind of scenario. I have never argued about the state of emergency. People have argued, because in 305, the constitution is clear that if there is a sense and a strong sense of that level of instability, preemptive action can be taken. So I've never argued, because people have said it doesn't hit the threshold of instability. But suspending elected, the president was wrong. I disagree with him on that. It's unconstitutional from where I sit, from my own enlightened opinion. So that's why whatever happens from then on, cascading down, is confusing. Sole administrator, I don't know where he exists in the law. He's not known to us. He's not known to anything. We don't have him anywhere. So whatever action he has taken, now even conducting an election swearing. So there's a layer of issue in Rivers State that has affected all of this situation. So that conundrum of even the timeline of the election, so it's a mess. But we hope they can find a way to move on as a state. And I don't know what kind of governor it's going to be, but clearly it looks like a lame duck situation for him, because the landmines are all over him. He moves against anything that's been put in place, like, oh, you've broken the peace accord. Good luck to them. But the most important thing we want in Rivers State is peace. How the politicians want to do their own is a different category. I don't care about what politicians do with themselves. I care about what the law says, because that's the only way we can have a sane society. But we wish them well. So Darlington Nwojo, I hope we can get you back, and we hope for Rivers State to get out of these murky waters.
Yeah, perhaps we could get his closing thoughts. We hear Mr. Nwojo is back. Jeffrey was speaking to what the future looks like. Seconds, yeah. Well, I was asking about accountability. We didn't expect you to say anything different. But Mr. Nwojo, you can give us your closing thoughts on the situation in Rivers before we head over to our next conversation. Mr. Nwojo, in 60 seconds.
I think the network doesn't want us to talk anymore so much. But we'll take a break, guys. And when we come back after the break, we hope to catch in with our correspondent, Austin Okonokpa, and let's review what played out at the World Athletics Championship in just a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and let's head over to another part of our conversation. This time we're talking sports, the fallout of the, World Athletics Federation Championship that has just been concluded. And our correspondent joins us now, Austin Okonokpa, and joins us virtually from the United Kingdom. Hello, Austin, it's good to see you. Let's start with the good part, of course, the performance of our athletes, and congratulations to Toby Amusha there, who got us silver. But holistically, I would like you to, give us your thoughts on the performance of the athletes.
Sport greetings to you, Bukola. Good to see you also. Shout out to Jeffrey and Kayode. Yeah, I'm glad we're starting with the good part. Toby Express. What can we do without Toby Amuson, and she really wanted a gold medal so bad because of what happened at the Olympics when she didn't make it to the final. She had to push. She saw the final push right there. She carried everything, to try to see if she could make it, but no. The lady from Switzerland, an underdog at that, had to get it. But it's all love. It's a gold and silver for her because she's been through so much. When you come from a country that is just so big on competitions, they just tell you go out there and compete, and we're not doing those things that you need to compete, favorably, then it's so difficult. Remember the viral video she made, that alone, it's enough mental stress to not even qualify for the finals. But that's what we keep saying about us being Nigeria and the resilience that we've got to go out there to get it done. But that said, we've gotten this medal now, and Bukola, everybody will start talking as if all is well. All is well. There's so much problems, and we need to fix it. We need to go away from consuming, which is just going to competition to compete, and start producing. Get into proper production of athletes, build back home, and see ways that in the long term we start, winning again.
I know. I will allow you to continue in that trail of thought, because I know you've been big on. I don't know why we are still on when it comes to sports. So to a good extent, we still seem to be importing talents. But what do you think is the problem here? I know that the other systems have those collegiate systems where these people can be groomed. They have access to a lot of things that our athletes here don't have. So incentives may be difficult with Sarah Philly trying to change allegiance to another country. So what do you think, in your view? Where do we start from? Is it the federations? Is it policy? Is it the talent? Help us unpack in layers, and maybe you can touch on everybody.
Jeffrey, the leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. What are the people administrating athletics in Nigeria? What's their qualification? What's their experience? What's their passion? Are they there? Are they reformers? Are they people who just want to have that role and have it going? That's the problem. I was speaking to Sheyi Olofinjano, last night, former Super Eagles player, and he said, Austin, the culture, our winning culture, what is it? Have we identified it? Because, Jeffrey, back in the days, we were big on the academicals. It produces talent. We were big on school sports. It produces talent. So you go back to the likes of Mary Oriali, Falila, Togunkoya, Chidi Imo. If you go back to Adenika Olopade, go back to Olusoji Fashuba, who, by the way, the last time we were in the finals was in 2007, and it was Olusoji Fashuba. So this time that a man got to the final through, what's his name again, the guy from the collegiate system, that makes it 18 years. 18 years that we are making it to the final. It's really, really, really tough. I still remember Koinsola getting to the final, this time in Tokyo. So it goes to tell us that we're not building. We need to pause. I like what Shehu Diko and Bukola Olopade seem to be doing, but I keep charging them. It goes beyond words. They say we need to reset and refocus. I'm not seeing it. because it starts with the federations. I've said it over and over again. If you like, give us Jesus Christ to lead sports in Nigeria. You see those federation presidents, if you keep carrying a carpenter to go and do the work of a surgeon, you are going to kill a lot of people. So that federation, they must put people who have the will, who have the qualification, who are passionate. Our own Enefio Kudobong is transforming athletics in Saudi Arabia because we will not just put the right people to run things back home. That's the problem, Jeffrey. So until we start saying, look, scatter everything and start again. That back in the day, we had this talent, homegrown talent at home. Why are we not getting it now? Because if we keep depending on these foreign guys, our administrators will not work. We're seeing it with football, we're seeing it with athletics. They'll say, oh, they're abroad where the structures are there, the system is working. We'll just go and poach them. And since those ones cannot run or compete for that country where they are, then they'll come to Nigeria. Jeffrey, if they keep doing that, how are we going to build back home?
Austin, conversations with you around sports is always thought-provoking. I don't know if we should consider also appointing you to one of those positions. See how far you go. But yes, it's great to see Kanysola Ajayi getting into the final. Good to see Toby Amushon winning silver. I mean, great to see her win gold, as you said. If this competition lasts until 21st, perhaps there could be something or not. But obviously, we need a lot of work to be done back home. You've covered sports in Nigeria for a long time, a very long time. I remember 10 years plus ago, still in the trenches in that sense, and the messaging still remains the same. It's almost like the same issues have been dogging the sports sector, athletics, and the rest. Is it a matter of us just treating it like how we treat every other thing, politics, so man no man, this person worked for the government, or this person is from this region, so let's appoint him at least. It makes our government look good and we get the vote. What is at the heart of decision-making in government? So maybe if we speak to it, they can begin to look inwards and say, oh, this is what we've been doing. It's not working. Let's change it.
That's right, Kyle. They have said it that for sports in Nigeria to work, the presidency must be involved. That's why when they scrapped the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, I was so happy. Because someone even told me recently that in Pidgin, if you translate Ministry of Youth and Sports, it is Ministry of Small Pikin and Play. So we still treat sports as play. We still treat it as leisure until the presidency says, let's sit down, see what small Rwanda is doing with sports and tourism. When you look at Arsenal Stadium, you see where this is Rwanda. Kagame is not playing with sports in Rwanda. It is his business. And if you take a look at South Africa also, you could tell that they are not joking. It's about 70-30 government-private partnership, but the government creates the conducive environment for sports to be business. They've got Patrice Motsepe, who is CAF president, who owns a football club, who understands business, is a core businessman. It's like our Aliko Dangote. That's the people, those are the kind of persons running sports. And that's why it's a big deal. So, Kayode, the presidency must show interest. They've started by having the National Sports Commission, that the president can call Shehu Diko, sit him down and say, what are we doing with our sports? But I said they need to do more. For instance, we are bidding to host the Commonwealth Games, I think in 2030 or so. And I know they will come to the United Kingdom next week to do a presentation. How big is the presidency on that? And if they are big, how true are we to ourselves that we cannot host it because we do not have, number one, the infrastructure? We might have the people to annex them because we don't want to get things done. We will do it, Kayode, but do we do it well? I speak to Shehu Diko and Bukola Olopade a lot. They are persons who have played in our sports circle, who understand who can make a change. But can they influence sports in Akwa Ibom, in Osun State, in Adamawa, in Taraba? You see what I'm saying? But if the president tells governors, hey, let's sit up. We have a 10-year plan that every state should give us a world champion. And the only way you do it will make sure that you have proper sporting arenas, you have qualified coaches, you have kids who are willing to do sports. You won't just talk to the kids, you talk to their parents to understand that it's holistic, it's 360 degrees. You understand what they're doing. You put sports into the curriculum in schools so that when that child who wants to do sports is doing it, is made to not look at him as a play child who does not love book. Kayode, can you see that it's a lot of work? And it's not just something that will just get up and get it done. But because we want to just compete, let's qualify and compete. You listen to Paul Ogazi. Ogazi said he had an injury. But then the officials told him, just go and compete now. Just go. And the boy went and he didn't do well. Because somebody must justify his ESTA code and why he went to Tokyo. But you see, when you look at the other guys and what they are doing, you will understand that look at Jibunti, the lady that won. She's been a 7-year program for Switzerland.
Yeah, awesome.
We're thinking this is today's problem. Olusoji Fashuba, Kayode, suffered kids problem in 2007. And Musa still suffered it in 2025.
Yeah. Austin, quite a lot, a lot of gray areas. And thank you for bringing all of the issues to light. And I'm glad we're beginning to talk about the elephant in the room gradually. But when you talk about government effort, some would say we're beginning to see it with, State Sports Festival and the premium placed on reward for effort. But from all of these issues, it appears as if there's still a lot more to be done. Speaking of which, the video done by Toby Amushan, gave us an insight into what exactly is happening. You are a well-traveled sports correspondent. Give us a sense of what exactly should be in the kit of a Nigerian athlete or any athlete, of international standing at that level, vis-a-vis the explanation put out by the Athletic Federation of Nigeria with regards to Toby Amushan's complaints.
I wouldn't, list them, completely because I don't wear them. But I know you must have your tracksuits. So I went to see this is what the Nigeria Football Federation wears for the Super Eagles. You have your joggers. She complained about tights. You must, of course, have the shoes. But this cannot just do it for an elite athlete, Bukola. Just this package, like what you are giving to somebody who came to visit the AFN president in his eyes, said, take a souvenir. And that was why she had to do it, because it's disrespectful. But if you go and check now, some of those guys, they will have a big of more than 50 of these outfits that they're not going to wear. She wasn't just talking about what was in that package. She was also talking about the quality of the material. But of course, the AFN, they always have excuses. They said the package was stuck in transit, that it didn't get to Tokyo on time. And this is what we are still saying, Bukola. Why always us? When we are going for something major, something must happen. The Super Falcons did not get their training kits. Till the final day, training kits did not come. Oh, there were cargo issues, there were these. That's why I'm saying, let's take our mindsets off competing and give attention to planning and organizing. Have a will that there must be so much work that goes into a process. I keep saying it on my show, and I tell administrators that 70% of winning is done side, the football field, the basketball court, the tracks, the field. It is your planning. You will see it, you will visualize it. Usain Bolt was a 10-year project, and when it came, boom, the world felt something that they had never seen before. Lionel Messi was kicking football at 7. He's still kicking. Cristiano Ronaldo at 5. He's still kicking. There's longevity in place when you plan properly. But you see, last minute, for instance, I'm not coming out to, destroy anyone's business. If you see the kits maker, even the athletes, they're surprised. Oh, who is this one again? Because at the Olympics, don't forget, we had 2. That was a huge controversy. That who is the major kits maker for Nigeria? It tells you it's terrible planning. So, Bukola, until we get all of those done properly, Enefio Kudobong, our own group Enefio, he showed us the kit for Saudi Arabia. He brought a proper suitcase and was counting out. It was more than 20, Bukola. you know, I cannot start explaining what was in that box, but it shows you that when you give this to an athlete, the athlete knows that, yeah, that's dignity right there. You're representing a country.
And we must do better, you know, reading the report about Ophili switching allegiances to Turkey because of poor treatment. So we must do better, not just by our athletes, but by all other, you know, sportsmen and other sports value chain. We must thank you very much, Austin Okonakpan. Always a delight having you talk sports.
I'm sorry, I would have loved to just come and say, oh, we won, and we're going to win more, but all the time. And you see, until we solve these problems, Bukola, there will remain problems.
Yeah, against all odds, we hope for more wins to celebrate in the future. Austin Okonakpan is our sports correspondent. Thank you for coming through on this one.
Thank you, Bukola. Thank you.
Yeah, so from sports, there's still more to talk about as far as the weather is concerned, particularly following that advisory put through by NIMET. So there may be just more flooding to come in the coming days. So how are Nigerians preparing? Let's give an, perhaps, project about what may come in the coming days, following through from what happened today in some parts of Lagos. So we want to show you some videos. There you have it.
Yeah, this video is from Ogba by Mobile Filling Station. Yeah, the wiper, the windscreen, maybe blocking, but you can get a sense of how the area is, the gates flooded, the water literally above some part of the fence, and just people just driving through, of course, yellow bus and their ways.
So we may be asking, it may be ideal to ask now, what do the drains look like at this point in time? How prepared are we? Should we experience increased rainfall in the coming days? What are manholes looking like? I recall the rains from, I believe, last Monday, what we saw at the bridge on the Maryland area from Ojota was quite worrying, and it was attributed to, a manhole that had become blocked. So how are we taking care of all of those, gray areas such that we do not have excessive flooding in the coming days? Drainages, canals, manholes on major expressways, we must be paying closer attention to those things. But, some are not just as a result of rain, but also as a result of release of dam. So there are some Lagos and Ogun residents that are more worried about other issues apart from the rains. Yeah.
There's also human activities, not the pouring dirt in the drain, which is not allowed at all. But let's also tell you some of the things you're saying on the social media that had to do. We understand that the issue around Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, senator suspended now, whose suspension is supposed to have come to an end, according to her. Well, I think the National Assembly clerk is saying only the Senate can decide our fate. So people are reacting to that particular phrase. But let me just read what some of the things that people are saying, because we've spoken about this for a long time. Elad says, that is silly to say only the Senate when the judicial arm of government is there for checks and balance. The Senate is left to its whims, will not let her back in. She was elected by the people, not appointed. So the Senate should let her work. So, yeah, guys, here we are again. This matter is an interesting one. Sometimes it's a question of cherry picking what the law and what the law did not say. There was the argument to the fact that the Senate disobeyed the court's order not to proceed with certain action. And at the same breath, they said, since it was already in court, and then when the suspension expired, she said she was ready to come back. They said, no, it's still under appeal. So it's just a mess. It's just a clear. I feel for her, though. She fought in the courts for almost how many months, finally got her mandate. And then 6 months later, after she just was there for a few months, I don't think it was up to a year, just a few months, and then another suspension. So technically, in the last 2 years of legislative activity, I don't think she's done upwards of 1 year. It's unfortunate, but I think they can look for a way to resolve this issue.
Well, it pretty much shows
there's
that
enough blame to go round.
It pretty much shows that there is more to it than the contention that is just between the senator representing Kogi Central and the Senate president. But we'll see how it plays out.
For me, I just want to tell that the optics is not good for. I know on parliamentary behavior is unacceptable. You must speak against it as well. But beyond all of that, you know, the back and forth as to this legalese and, you know, some things you raise, I'm concerned about the fate of women in national politics. Some of us have been fighting to say women are poorly represented. We have only 4 women in the Senate. Now 1 is suspended. Another abysmal number in the House of Reps. And we can go on to the state assemblies. Some of those ones are even the worst. Some is just an all-men affair. Maybe just 1 or 2 women. So, and we're already saying that we're missing out on a very important demographic when it comes to quality nation building, when women are out of it. So I do not want to argue the legalese and all of that. I think we've done that and it's enough. They will sort themselves out. I'm just talking about the optics for women. We need to do better to help our women come into power. Thank you for your time. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.
Of course, we'll be back again tomorrow, and through the week, I am Bukola Koka.
Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is next. Grab an umbrella if you don't have to go out. Stay back at home. I'm Kayode Okikulu. Goodbye.